Hello my friends. So this is a look in the dark, chapter 11, the lens, and this is the second part of that chapter. And we are in the situation where Rikki has got some information. He's planning to go and visit Theo in the cafe. So Theo's got some information. Rikki's planning to go to the cafe to get this information and then find out what it is that Theo has found out about Major Stanos. So explained about the plan for the next day to Theo. A man would call at 9 in the morning. He would collect the photos. He was a special friend of the Greens, and yes, it was very safe to give him the pictures. This man, he is friend of Green's and then he is friend of mine. Theo was sure about that. Hey Theo, will you do me a big favour? Will you give Rikki a good breakfast, one of your special ones? Well, it will be my pleasure to do this, sir. Oh, and Theo, he's very posh. He talks like he's from Buck House. Ah, he has the plum in the mouth, yeah? That's it, but he's really nice. Hey Sue, when you talk to Danny, Green and Carol, you tell them I love them. Tell them I hope they shut down this Stanos really soon, yeah? Yeah, to that Theo. Just before 9 the next morning, they looked over the countertop cup and saucer storage cabinet and examined the man who had just entered the cafe. He was a middle-aged, very smartly though casually dressed, and in his expensive-looking beige corduroy jacket and open neck light brown shirt, he was finished off with a mid-brown cravat with a small yellowish-brown speckle running through it. The very neatly trimmed beard and the more than warm smile completed the picture, and before Rikki opened his mouth it was clear to the Greek that this was Daniel's friend. Good morning. Rikki had an accent that demanded attention, but his kindly gentle face and twinkling eyes made him very appealing. And you, sir, must be Theo. Ah, and you, dear friend, must be Daniel's friend Rikki, yes? Rikki nodded. And as the two men shook hands, the 6 customers gave Theo a look that filled the cafe with questions. Theo continued, Sue, my good friend, she told me last night you come. Sit down, Rikki, first you eat, and then we talk. Theo looked around at the patrons, all of whom wanted to know who this posh guy was. Ha, we talk business. The 2 men exchanged smiles with everyone as Rikki was led to a very clean table near the counter with a reserved sign on it. Soon Sir Richard Claymore was tucking in with relish to an excellent British working man's breakfast. Maybe it was because he'd been favourably prejudiced beforehand, but he doubted it. And in his judgment, his judgment was that though he had stayed in some of the finest hotels and ate in many of the world's famous restaurants, never had he enjoyed breakfast fare more than he was enjoying this. He was conscious that all eyes were on him, but he felt it best in the circumstances to lower his profile by not talking to folk. Theo, in the meantime, sang a Greek love song to himself and gave a couple of his regulars a look that made it clear that his high-class visitor was absolutely nothing to do with them. Rikki finished his extra-large mega breakfast and had almost been beaten by it. And then he sat and watched the folk around him whilst Theo served up more, though slightly smaller meals to a couple more customers. As the last of them left but one, Theo shouted over the screech of the coffee machine, So the last of breakfast rush over, all at work now without any hunger, job done, come on Rikki, we talk it back, yeah? The one remaining customer was a deaf man. To him Theo made a couple of signs to indicate that he would be back out soon. The deaf man gave Theo a friendly smile and a thumbs up. Theo skillfully managed the 2 cups of coffee in one hand as he held the door near the counter open for his visitor. Rikki could see the enthusiasm to share what he'd found out regarding Stanos written all over the cafe owner's face. He pointed Rikki to a room at the back of the building where there was a table and a chair. Rikki accepted an invitation to sit down, and Theo turned to a cupboard, took down a large cash box, reached in his pocket for the key, opened it and lifted out a brown envelope. Rikki was enjoying the strong nasal blend of the strong coffee and the multiple foodstuffs in the nearby store. As Theo pulled up an old wooden box to the table and sat on it, he wore a grin which proved beyond all doubt that he had found the very best kind of toothpaste. So Rikki, friend of Carol and Danny, then you must be my friend too. See, I have photographs of this man. He took out a very well taken picture of the 2 men and a woman standing by a dark blue BMW. Rikki, I want this man cooked. The mood of the friendly Greek had turned darker. Anger filled his face and dark thundercloud-like lines crossed his brow. Wickedness, that is what is. Rikki looked at the face of the man at the end of Theo's index finger. Is this Major Stanhurst? Yeah, that him. Rikki had hardly heard words spoken with such absolute raging contempt. Well, Theo, I promise you, if it depends on the Greens and myself, he will be cooked, or at least locked up for a long, long time. Who is this woman? Is this his wife? This woman works for him. Theo sucked in his breath. She is a fancy woman, work and play together. She may be bad as him. This man here, old boy, he is where I shoot photos. He there sometime every week, more sometime. Sir Richard Claymore examined the pictures more closely. I think I know him. Who he is, I mean, Theo. Look at these pictures, close up. Theo passed the pictures to Richard, and he examined them one after the other. There were 18 photos, not all taken on the same occasion, as the dress of the individuals was different on various pictures. There were a half dozen very good head and shoulder shots. Oh yes, most certainly. Do you know who he is, Theo? I knew his face when first I see it, but not know who he is. I am 100% sure that this gentleman is John Clayton. Do you like wildlife, Theo? The Greek man nodded. Well, he presented those excellent programmes maybe 5 years ago that were on the BBC, Secrets of the Rainforest, and then a little later there was a series of his called Tales of the Native Peoples. Did you see these excellent documentaries? Ah, of course, now I know him, so why is he with the devil Sandhurst? At this precise moment in time, my friend, I cannot answer that, but we will be doing our utmost to determine that in the very near future. Theo, I hear customers coming in. Can I take these with me? Most certain you have them. Took pictures for Danny and Carol. Excellent photography, old boy. Risky business though, please be careful. Aye, careful. Watch him like you watch angry snake, but while watch snake, still help others deal with him, yeah? Well done, Theo. Now how much do I owe you for the best breakfast in London? Theo looked offended. Please, no. I tell Sue I treat you to best breakfast. Rikki understood basic human genuineness enough not to want to offend by pressing to pay, though he was well used to eating much inferior food at a very inflated price. Come on, Theo! It sounded like a man's voice, and a coin being banged up and down on the counter. As the two men returned to the front of the premises, Rikki was amazed that there was about a dozen people waiting. The man's voice had seemingly come from the rather imposing woman standing at the counter. Thought you were dead in the storeroom, Theo. We ain't here for a rest, you know. Sir Richard Claymore chuckled and remarked that good things were well worth waiting for. All in the cafe were silenced by the upper class